Kwami is self-medication, a medication obuthi awukho prescribed to. A medication obuthi awutshela udoctor or like we pulls up because of prescribed kuyo. A medication obuthi uyazikhethela, maybe for example a supplement like njengami so kune supplement engisebenzisa iAlu. So as a medication, a supplement into exercise, even if it was a affect wakhona, shuthi I'll direct kuyo. It's just a medication when I decided like to pause like my herbs.
For now, self-medication, say you're not feeling well, and you decide maybe you like Google or something, symptoms and then you decide maybe you found on Google maybe. And then I decided to go to pharmacy. We looked at a website that recommended for Bonita.
The meaning of self-medication to me means that if you are sick, right, and you go to a pharmacy or chemist, and you go to the pharmacist behind the thingy counter, and you be like, "Can I please have that and this and this and that?" That is when you're doing your self-medication, like things that you know by your head that, okay, this and that will help me to cure the sickness or whatever that I have. That is the meaning of self-medication, according to my understanding.
I think self-medication today is people's necessity to go to negate going to a doctor and to just get the medication that they themselves need. I think with the fast-paced lifestyle that we need, as well as the exorbitant fees that we charge, well, the doctors charge, sorry, shall I say, we tend to not trust doctors and we tend to want to sort of keep our money where we know it's going. And one of those ways is to self-medicate because we know exactly what ailments we have. We know exactly what medicine gets prescribed. And therefore, instead of going through a long, laborious process of having a doctor tell you what you already know, we just bypass that and go straight through to a chemist, to a pharmacist, and get the medication that we need.
Young men, we tend not to trust doctors. What happened to trust me, I'm a doctor? Good morning and a very warm welcome to Bonita's House Call here on SABC2. Bana wama ngikhaudisenge muthwana, bantu abakaphalo, babandla kamjokane kandaba. Ngithi kunina nonke ebukhosini. I'm Dr. Victor Ramatesile. Nina nongulukisetsa ngakakatlu. Ngetla ngwana ha satata. Sesende. Metsotso ha le mashomararo, re fele so hora ya borobedi useng. Now, from time immemorial, fantuka af, people have been taking medications without consulting doctors, self-medication. And as they do this for a variety of reasons that we'll soon find out. But the issue here is that medicines are readily available. And yes, there's also that small little matter of doctor internet. Hey, ufikile ngempela udokotela wasenkundleni zokuxhumana uze wasithathela umsebenzi ke thina abanye ubona nje abantu abasaye masejara kwasanhlobo nje. So today we want to fully investigate this matter and so when you want to know anything about the people in South Africa, as you saw, we went to the streets to say exactly what it is that says how self-medication works. Now, we have also invited into the studio experts who are going to further discuss this matter. In this regard, I'm going to invite in studio Dr. Craig Golden, who's a specialist in integrative medicine. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that. We also have Mrs. Zahir Dinda from Discam, as well as Mr. Maholo Khodo Pasha, who's the chairman of the Independent Community Pharmacy Association. Ongothi kulo mkhakha ke othinta izindaba eziphathelene nemithi kanye nemishanguzo abantu abuye bayithathe ngaphandle kwemvume kadokotela. Now let's get into the main issues. Colleagues, thank you very much for joining us this morning. Self-medication. Now, you are in community pharmacy.
Yes.
Which is?
Kalabeng pharmacies.
Which? Kalabeng.
Kalabeng, yes.
Yeah.
Kalabeng
so these are the pharmacies that we find in the streets, in the shops, in the supermarkets, everywhere we go.
Yes, but I represent the independent community pharmacies, meaning all the independent pharmacies in the country, the pharmacies that are not corporatized.
I see.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Craig Golding, you are into integrative medicine. So from time to time, you prescribe various forms of supplements and nutraceuticals. You have a range that you call integrative intelligence, now, which is one that is prescribed by doctors and yourselves. But you also have another range that people can get over the counter. What are the differences between the two?
Look, I think we should talk about three differences. The one is a pharmaceutical prescribed drug. The second is the integrative intel that you mentioned, which is a compounded product prescribed only by doctors and only available at an integrated
Not
doctor's
necessarily
practice.
a medicine, but a product nonetheless.
It's natural medicines.
I see.
For example, for sugar control, we put a formula together with chromium and alpha-lipoic and magnesium and vitamin D, things that help diabetics. So the compounded products are only available at integrated doctors'
Why?
practices.
Why?
Well, there's a number of reasons for that. First of all, I think a patient should be evaluated and checked and assessed before, just sort of playing a guessing game and helping themselves over the shelf. I'm not anti self preservation and looking after yourself. I think that is very important, and people should be entitled to do that, to take vitamins and nutrients that are good for them. But I think even better than that is to be evaluated and then take the
So the
correct
third
stuff.
segment is what you would recommend, but it is not necessarily prescribed by the doctors, but it is something that you would have recommended after assessing the patient nonetheless.
Yes. So the integrative intel product range is really after assessment to see where you're at and then to prescribe natural medicines. A lot of people these days prefer natural alternatives, nutraceuticals and so on. Obviously medicines are still needed. We have a lot of chronic diseases in our country ourselves. So, HIV
We'll
and
come back into the
diabetes and
details.
so on.
We'll come back, but let's go to the basics first. Self-medication is based on the fact that people can self-diagnose. So if you can't self-diagnose accurately, you therefore cannot self-medicate. Is this logical for me to say?
Dr. Ramatisa, let me explain this self-medication, because people, I think they misunderstand what we mean by self-medication. So as a patient walks into a pharmacy, talks to me as a pharmacist, and describe the ailment that they are having. So they say, I'm having a running time, or I'm coughing, I'm having this. When I listen to the patient, I'm actually prescribing for this patient, because medicines, there's no medicine that is not sold on prescription besides Schedule 0. So Schedule 1 and 2 are also sold on prescription, but that prescription is being made by the pharmacist.
Not by the doctor.
Not by the doctor.
Okay.
So I am prescribing for you by giving you a particular painkiller or cough mix after asking how the cough is it dry, is it wet, all those kind of questions. So if you look at the olden days, how it used to happen, a patient will walk into a pharmacy, a pharmacist will have this big prescription book on which he will write, Victor Ramatisele, presented with cough on Monday, I prescribed this cough mixture and that painkiller. But today, it's now all electronic. So as you talk, I'm actually still doing, if you realize the paper that gets generated that the patient signs, even for this over-the-counter medication.
Okay. Hold on. Now you will agree that in your setting, at Discam, for instance, which is where you're coming from, you will have a pharmacy at the corner where people go with prescriptions that have been written by doctors, and they appropriately get their medication and the instructions on how they should use those medications, and so on and so forth. You'll also have a section where people can walk in and say, listen, I have this funny rash, what is it that I can take? And appropriately, your pharmacist in that area will say, listen, for this kind of rash, I think you must go and consult a doctor. Or for this one, we think there's something that you can apply. And then there's also a range of stuff sitting there, some of them painkillers, some of them laxatives, some of them whatever, where a person just walks in and picks up whatever they think they need and walk away. Now, I want to talk about the last stuff. Now, of those that you have in that shelf, one determines what goes between what the pharmacist can recommend and what people can take themselves.
So a lot of it has got to do with the indication that the medication is used for.
That is the reason why somebody wants
The
to use it.
reason why
okay.
someone needs to use it, and also the safety profile of that medication.
Ah, safety profile. What does
Yes.
that mean?
So depending on the number of side effects, the number, whether or not it has side effects, whether or not it can cause addiction, whether or not it interacts with other medication and so forth, that will then determine whether or not it will be available directly to the customer or if it will need a pharmacist consultation before you can get that medication.
I see. So if there's something that a patient can take without even consulting the pharmacy, you would have ensured that it is a fairly safe medication for, to be used under those circumstances.
As long as patients using that medication follow the instructions and follow the dosages and so forth on the patient
Because
information
indeed,
leaflets.
a lot of them have the patient leaflets.
Yes.
But how many patients follow those leaflets? Do you have an idea?
Probably not many, but
Yeah.
you know, the advice that we give patients is that if they're going to be using anything without consulting a healthcare professional, then it needs to be, they need to follow the instructions on the patient information.
Before we go to the ad break, Dr. Golding, what is the major, or in your view, the biggest problem that we have with self-medication in this country?
Well, I think the lack of evaluation of your health status. So there's a lot of natural products out there, and people are trying to go natural, and so they help themselves without a proper evaluation, seeing what they need. So I think that's the biggest problem for me, because herbals, nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals, you know, they all have potential side effects. I think the patient needs to be evaluated and not help themselves to what they think is good for them, because sometimes what they think is good is not biochemically compatible with their situation.
Would you agree that with the shortage of doctors that we have in this country, and indeed shortage of all healthcare professionals, self-medication should be at the center of how people should look after themselves, but accompanying that should be a certain level of health education that people must receive?
Indeed, because primary health care is a cornerstone of healthcare of any community. So because of the shortage of doctors and indeed, like you said, other healthcare professionals, it's easier to get into a pharmacy and get yourself medicated. But you mustn't just, I don't very much recommend this thing of picking up medicine. It can heal and it can harm. So this idea of saying I can walk in and pick up medicine like is a brown bread, it really, really must be taken off the minds of the people, because, like I said, very thin line. It can heal, but it can harm. So talking to a health professional, it always makes sense. It's always good for the patients.
Well, I'm not sure if you would agree, because what percentage of what you sell at Discam is stuff that people can walk in and take by themselves without necessarily consulting with anybody within the shop?
Well, all the scheduled medicines are behind the counter, so they need some form of consultation with someone before they take it.
Is that so?
Yes.
I mean, even a simple cough mixture?
Even a
Even a
simple
simple
cough-
painkiller, if a
even-
simple, you still need to consult?
You still
if
need
I
to
walk in, if I
consult.
know I've got a headache, I walk into a shop. So these days you can walk into a spaza shop, you can walk into a shop at a garage that opens 24 hours, and you find Panado there, you grab it, out you go. I mean, the people who are sitting there, with due respect, will know nothing about how Panado works.
The non-scheduled medicines will still always be available. They'll be available in supermarkets, they'll be available at the corner store, they'll always be available. But all the scheduled medication that needs consultation will be behind the counter, and there will be consultation.
Let's talk about the scheduling a little bit, lest we get confused. What does it mean?
So how the scheduling works is that the Medicines Act, it indicates from what level where the drug, the access actually. So Schedule 0, you can, or unscheduled, you can get literally anywhere, from supermarkets to garages, as you said, even in the front of the pharmacy.
Okay.
But 1 and 2,
Even in a machine, even in a vending machine.
even in some
We're coming
machine.
back to that issue, okay?
Indeed. So 1 and 2, they are the ones that you get from the pharmacies.
I see.
So that's the one I was talking about, where
Okay.
you talk to a pharmacist, the pharmacist actually advises
And
you
that's 1
and
and 2.
prescribes some. That's
Okay.
1 and 2.
Okay.
Then you have 3 up to 6.
Okay.
So those are actually the ones that are only by written prescriptions.
I see.
There's a certain,
By an NBCHB doctor.
that's the one.
The
But there's a certain
homeopathic
access.
doctor, let's leave that matter before we get confused. So there are so many doctors, these are traditional homeopathic, MBCHB, and PhDs, and the works. One is Christ eba mamela ka jenne re tshwarang le taba e hlokolosi ya tshebediso ya meriana eo o ithekelang yona lebenkeleng ha motjhela mane kapa chemisteng ntle le hlahlobo kapa keletso ya ngaka. Se re sa bue he ka dirata he bo di-soda bo mahalakane le bo di-dribbles se ka o fapakana. Empa he ngwanes ha re kgese he rona empa re bontshana fela re fana ka tlhahiso leseding. We'll continue our discussion on self-medication. Hang a re kgutle papatsong ha re matheo. guys, re thabela o lena gape ka mo lapeng. Hey, taba ya le gone, a se sephiri ne, a se khupamarama, re toloka ka ditlhare tsa go šomiša ka mo gae goba self-medication ka Seesimane. Sa mmatla no re tshwara ka motato he mo nomorong ya 011-285-6024 goba borif wa boripana ba SMS to Bonita at 33723. Now let's go back to the streets of Mzansi and hear how people are introduced to self-medication and exactly where they source some of these products. Very interesting watching. Let's see.
Okay, the reason why manje ngithi self-medication ami it's alu, like ngaba introduced kuyo because of bengislutsha like inyawo umzimba wami unokuchisa, so ngaba i-supplement ukuthi yangisiza. Umuntu ongintroduce kuyo uNthabiseng is one of the ladies engimaziyo ukuthengisa leyo product leyo, uyi-supervisor yase Forever Living. So eventually it's a direct selling thing, asinto ukuthi uyithola esitoro. So i-self-medication asinto ukuthi uyithola ku-doctor i-medication yakhona, i-supplement it's either uyoyithenga straight ku-company lena ukuthi producer that medication.
Yeah, I've self-medicated before. I had back problems, and I went on Google to see, if there are other people with back problems. And I found a forum discussing like the symptoms in zona, and they recommended brufeni. So then I went to the pharmacy, got brufeni, and then I started drinking it. It worked for a couple of weeks, but then I was back to the same problem again after that.
Have I ever self-medicated myself? Yes, I have. That happens only if I'm so lazy to go see a doctor or if I'm broke to pay for the doctor's fees. So yes, I have a couple of times actually. And it's not something to be proud about, but yes, I have.
Have I self-medicated before? Yes, I have self-medicated before. I suffer with migraines quite a lot, so going to the doctor every time to get the same diagnosis takes a lot of time out of my day, but also increases my fees and my levy fees with my medical aid. So instead of going through that whole process, I go to the pharmacy myself and I pick up the tablets that I know are going to cure me of my migraines.
No, hang on. Something that you can get over the counter to cure migraine, but it must be a misdiagnosis. Is there something over the counter that can sort out migraine?
You know, migraine is that one that you need to treat it at the beginning, when it starts, not when you already have
face, as you say. When you get the signs that it's just about to start, you see the zigzag, whatever, them zimzims, and then you start.
So for that,
yeah,
there is something that you can take.
Is that so?
Yeah, there is. But after having a talk with your pharmacist, the pharmacist can be able to.
Dr. K, how do you? I've referred a couple of patients with migraine to you. How do you handle them?
Look, I mean, in my medical philosophy, we try and look for the cause. So that's the first thing, rather than just numbing the pain, as it were. So migraine is a vascular condition, so we have a look at certain things.
It has to do with blood vessels. That's why I say it's a vascular.
Yeah, okay. So we look at stress hormones, we look at